Are you the kind of dungeon master that likes to run dungeons full of traps, hazards, puzzles and riddles? Or are you just the kind of player that likes to run through a dungeon full of traps, hazards, puzzles and riddles? Well, you should really look into this new Kickstarter, Treacherous Traps for 5th edition. But before I talk about why I think it's really worth backing this project, I just want to announce, and I'm very happy to announce, that I started my very own t-shirt store over on Spreadshirt. Yes, this t-shirt you see me wearing right here is one of my very own designs, and I got absolutely no help from my girlfriend at all for designing these t-shirts. And I've got a design for a lot of the player's handbook classes. I now have the fighter, the barbarian, the cleric and the bard, but I'm planning on adding every class from the player's handbook onto my store. I also have t-shirts with my very own logo on them. If you want to support the channel for a few bucks and you want to look good while doing it, make sure to go to the link in the description below, buy one of my t-shirts, buy 5 of my t-shirts for all your friends. I really appreciate it. And if you decide to buy one or you plan on buying one, make sure to hit me up in the comments below, because I want to be there to personally thank you for it. So, Treacherous Traps and why I think it's really worth backing this project. Let me tell you something. People that play Dungeons and Dragons with me know this for a fact. They know that I love me some traps. In a dungeon, around a dungeon, in a freaking city, wherever you want it. I love me some traps. People that have been playing with me know this, and I'm not only talking about traps in the classical sense of the word, but I'm also talking about, so not only darts flying out of walls and false pits, but I'm also talking about riddles and puzzles and all that stuff that could be inside a dungeon and could really mess with you, mess with your mind, mess with your hit points, whatever. I love this kind of stuff. Sometimes I even think that traps are more Dungeons and Dragons than Dungeons and Dragons, if you know where I want to go with this. And I feel there is something missing in the world of Dungeons and Dragons, at least 5th edition right now, and that is dedicated modules, dedicated books about traps. And yes, I know there are some very cool books about traps. Still, I think there's like a gazillion monster books out there. There is all kind of monster books from Wizard of the Coast, from Kobold Press, which are all amazing. There's Monsters of the Guild, which is amazing. There is Masters and Minions, which is really amazing. But there is gazillion of monster books out there, and I just feel that there's not enough stuff about traps. And with Treacherous Traps, and I'm gonna let this sink in for a moment, with Treacherous Traps, they are promising us a book, a full-blown module with 250 pre-made traps, ranging from level 1 all the way up to level 20. 250 traps. I don't know, that's information I don't have. I don't know if these traps scale to a certain level or whatever they do, because I didn't get a chance yet to look into this module, but 250 pre-made traps. And that's not everything. They're also giving us a random trap generator thing where we can put triggers and effects and all that stuff together to create crazy combinations. There is tips and guidelines to create your own traps. There are puzzles, there are riddles in this thing, all next to these 250 pre-made traps. And that is not everything, because next to this book they're also releasing some kind of deck of cards where you can buy certain decks of cards ranging for certain levels, where you can just where you have the information of a trap on a card. So they're just trap cards you can use. You can pick out a random trap and just put it in your campaign, put it in your dungeon. So these people who are creating Treacherous Traps, they really have a thing for traps. Let's just keep it at that. They really have a thing for traps. And it's the same with me. I love traps, and I really need this thing to be successful, because when I take a look at this Kickstarter, there's a few things I noticed. First of all, these people know what they're talking about. They're talking about traps. Case closed. Traps and riddles, all the same thing right now. They're talking about traps, but they're also, they have some amazing artwork on there. They have some amazing stretch goals in there where they will put schematics into the book for the traps, more artwork into the book, more traps, more riddles. All that kind of stuff is on there, so make sure to go to the link in the description below, go to the Kickstarter, and if you can miss a few dollars, even if it's only $1, if it's $10, if it's $100, make sure to go over there and to pledge any amount of your hard-earned cash to this book, because I really need this thing to succeed, because we're going to have a lot of fun when we can use 250 plus traps for our players. Now, about the stretch goals. Let me just say, this Kickstarter is already very successful. I mean, they tried to raise $5,000 for this Kickstarter, for this book to become a reality, and they already have $66,000 on their Kickstarter project. Yes, they tried to raise 5 and they have $66,000, but that doesn't mean we have to stop right here. I mean, they have some amazing stretch goals right now at this moment. When they reach 70,000, which they almost reach because they're at 66,000, they will add some schematics, maybe even blueprints type things for some of the traps, which is very amazing. Then when they reach $80,000, which I'm sure they can get to, they will build pre-built dungeons to put in this book. I mean, this book was already very thick, and this book is going to be even thicker if we make the $80,000 milestone. But this is the best one. If they make $90,000 for this Kickstarter, and I'm sure we can get there, if we all just chip in a few bucks, whatever we can spare, we can get to $90,000, and they will build in player-centric material. Yes, a new profession, ways to build your own makeshift traps as a player, all that kind of stuff. Well, obviously this book is going to be a Dungeon Master book because it has traps for your players to go into. But a Dungeon Master book with some player options in it is a better Dungeon Master book. Let's just face it. If you have a Dungeon Master book full of traps, having some options for your players, new professions, ways to get around traps, ways to build your own traps, it's always very fun to present this kind of stuff to your players. Okay, I think we can all agree now that I really love me some traps, and I really want this already successful Kickstarter to be even more successful, because I think we really need a kind of book like this on the shelves of our Dungeons and Dragons collections. That's just the way I feel about traps. I don't know how you guys feel. All I ask you to do is go to the link in the description below, click it, browse their Kickstarter page for a bit, watch their Kickstarter trailer, watch the trailer on that page for a bit, just browse around, and if you eventually don't want to back them, just don't back them. I mean, it's a free world, but if you want to back them, I think they will be very grateful. I will be grateful because I will get my hands on an even more awesome book than it already will be once it gets released. Anyway, if you go outside after viewing this video, make sure to not step into a trap, and I hope your inspiration may guide you.